This is the cemetery behind the allotment plots, which is seemingly filling up quite fast at the moment. We're a little bit worried that they're going to start burying bodies on the allotment plots instead in the future. We'll see what happens. But, this is the path up the centre of the plots, so we usually can drive up and down this unless it's particularly wet. And, various plots in various states of repair. We're just coming up on the right here to plot 10, which we have just vacated. Thank you, plot. We grew some good stuff there. We only had it a couple of seasons. The first season was good. Second season, well, it fell by the wayside a bit. We struggled as it was to maintain the one plot. But it's not too bad. We've cleaned it up nicely for the next person, and hopefully they get good use out of it. And hopefully us having our second plot right next to our first plot will make it all a lot more manageable. Plus life is a bit different now, so we have yet to see what shape it's going to take. So coming up on the left there is our first plot with the big polytunnel, and that's our key growing space really, that polytunnel. We were lucky to get the metalwork for free off some farmers who had it lying around. Spent a bit of money on the polythene and a bit of timber, but it's produced more than the value we spent on it in tomatoes in about 3 seasons of use, so that's good. This was originally a couple of very blank plots here and here, belonging to the one guy who mostly grew potatoes. Apparently he was called the potato man by the other plot holders. But, he moved on, got old, and decided he couldn't look after it anymore. And we turned it into this. We're still working on it, as with all things, gradually improving bits and pieces. So we've got the sides on those 2 second raised beds behind this first one. The first one's where we grow our garlic every year, sometimes some onions. And the second ones have been of various use because we've not really looked after, well, set them up properly. Hopefully with these edges and getting them nice and full of some compost should to make them a lot more usable and get good crops out of them in the future. And weird little oak tree in the middle there. There used to be a relatively big walnut tree in the middle, which you can see the stump of right in the middle of the frame there. The neighbours chopped it down, and I think, as sad as that is, it's a good thing. I don't think we really needed a massive tree in the middle of the plots, really. These guys have a much more straightforward and regimented plot structure, which I kind of envy a little bit after we put all this effort in dealing with these raised beds. But I think the raised beds are a little bit better for the plants in some regards, because this soil, as you can probably see here, is very very thick. It's a clay loam, I think, and tends to be prone to being very damp. But you can still grow plenty in it. It's a good soil. The community help team have been clearing up over here, and yeah, it's been about as bad as the plot we've been clearing, really. It's a bit of a task. It's got some useful stuff on it though. I think someone's claimed this side of it. They're splitting it into 2 plots, as they like to do here. Rather than a full-size plot, you get a half-size plot. I think someone's claimed the greenhouse, though we are actually building a new greenhouse anyway. Well, new, a free cycle greenhouse, which will go into this spot back there that we've cleared. So this is the work of the last week. We've done a lot of clearing in here, got a little bit of time spare at the moment, and I guess this is a sort of a before video on the Sunday, at the start of our time down the plots, ahead of when we'd normally do our after video. So maybe we'll have some progress to show at the end. We had a nice little barbecue yesterday, cracked open a beer, and this is the key thing that we achieved yesterday. That's where our barbecue was. Oh, we got this spot real clear, which is where the greenhouse is going to go. Lots of bricks sorted. Like 6 tubs of broken bricks there, and a small pile of whole, or at least half usable ones. And yeah, so we're about to crack on, hopefully get a little bit more clearance done, and move a big old pile of wood chip up here somewhere useful. That is the plan. I shall be back at the end of it. So that has been today's main job. Making a couple of compost bays at the front of the new plot. That was going to be a shrubbery, but we decided no shrubbery. The compost bays are more important. But, they're going to be convenient in that location because we can load them from the outside, which I'll show you in a moment. In general, more cleaning up of this plot, more pulling up of all the infinite piles of plastic on plastic on plastic. But we can actually see dirt in some places now. As I showed you in the intro video, we've cleared a big area here now, ready for the greenhouse, which we got a free cycle a while back, like more than a year ago. We were going to build it on plot 10, but that didn't happen, which is probably a good thing, because now we can build it here without having to dismantle it. That rectangle on the ground is its ground bars, so roughly gives an idea of the size of it. If zoom out for a bit of context. So it's going to be alongside the end of the polytunnel there. This pallet fence in the middle will go. There'll be a big wide fence there, and yeah, so that should work out pretty well, hopefully. And we'll put some bedding down. Well, we'll put some channels in, I think, to try and get it nice and level. And those railway sleepers over there are effectively going to be a foundation for it. And yeah, burning through some more old junk. Some of it's just too hard to get the wire off some of the crazy constructions in this place. A few logs, which might come in useful at another time. This came with some wood chip we got for free. My ARB Talk sign up finally paid off. I think it's paid. This is the second time ever. Doesn't seem to attract a lot of wood chip, but it gets some. And I don't think I mentioned it in the earlier video, but we have got this path all freshly chipped, and we've got plenty more to come. This pretty much was the motivation for building these bays, which I'll show you in a moment. In the polytunnel here, we've finished up in the polytunnel today with a bit of tomato harvesting, quite a lot of lower foliage clearance, and watering, of course, and watering. It's so nice walking on this slightly squidgy, new, fresh, smelly wood chip. Smells good. Cat has cleaned up a lot of our garlic today, which has been just living in the polytunnel. And there's a bit of our tomato harvest. We're harvesting a few things pretty early and hoping that they will ripen up. They generally do. And so yeah, so out of this plot, and as we wandered down from the cemetery end of the plot earlier, we'll wander down to the other end and through our new bay. So we'll put a new wire fence in here eventually, and the design for these bays is basically going to be that we can take off this top half and load it from this side, and that means we can bring stuff in. So maybe rather than compost bays, they're going to be holding bays, because if we get any wood chip in, we can load them into here. If we get any of the free local council compost, we can get them into here, load it up, seal up this side, and access it from the other side. So it's basically like an airlock for compost. I don't know. That's an interesting analogy. Yeah, so if I wander down here, so that's the neighbouring plot that we have been using as a bit of a dumping ground that the community team cleaned up. And there's a lot of various states of plots, like I said earlier. This guy here seems to basically just grow his 2 patches of potatoes every year. But that's a way of doing things, and he gets his potatoes. This couple have a double plot here, which is generally in a very good state of repair, looking nice, and they keep developing it. It's pretty good. Yeah, fairly envious of their fruit cage at the end here, full of all sorts. This guy doesn't seem to be around very much, and he occasionally shows up and dumps tons of leaves on this front bed. He does some agricultural work, I think. But yeah, and some interesting hydroponic style strawberries in there. And I should wrap this up soon, because this is going to be a longer video than my usual standard. But yeah, so I got this call from a random mobile number earlier in the week, and it was a guy with woodchip working locally, all the way from Aylesbury, of all places. I used to work there. It was my first work in the UK at McAfee. But anyway, so he came along with a tipper truck and dumped this lot for us, which we're gradually moving up. So obviously we've got quite a lot to move still. And there's some logs in there too. That's where the logs that were in the plot came from. They're sort of buried in the back here. So we'll clean them up and dry them out, and they might be useful for future bonfires or burning in general. But yeah, so that's our little wood chip pile, and that should well and truly fill those 2 bays, I think. And that's probably tomorrow's job, because we're losing the light now. But yeah, so that's the a full walk through the plot, starting at the start of our day here today and ending at the end. We didn't get as much as I would have liked done today, but there we go. I think overall we've done really well. We've had a good weekend. It's nice to actually have the time for it, for a change. But yeah, so then our plot, the whole site sort of just opens out onto this little back lane in the village. It's not exactly like the major high security ones you see from London allotmenters with massive metal fences. There has been a little bit of consternation recently with people letting their dogs in here to poop and stuff, so there may be discussions about getting a better fence in than this flimsy old thing. The car gate is a piece of chain which comes across it, and we have a little code lock. But yeah, that's it. There we go. Signing off.